Good evening, everyone. I am David Sproles, the president of the New York School of Interior Design, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 10th annual Michael I. and Patricia M. Sovern Lecture on Design. Before I introduce tonight's guest of honor, I would like to offer a heartfelt thank you to Patricia Sovern and her late husband, Michael, a respected legal scholar, mediator, teacher, and president of Columbia University. Pat, who is here with us tonight, is chairman emeritus of the New York School of Interior Design's Board of Trustees, where she served for many years as a valued member. It was through a generous gift that she and Mike made to the college that we are able to endow a lecture series in their name to bring the highest caliber speakers to our stage. So Pat, we thank you. Tonight, we are excited to welcome this year's Sovern Lecture speaker, Ed Schlossberg. A trailblazer in interactive museum installations, Ed founded and led ESI Design, a multidisciplinary firm specializing in immersive environments. An internationally recognized pioneer in experience design and audience engagement, Ed Schlossberg launched his career in 1970 with the design of one of the world's first interactive museums, the Brooklyn Children's Museum. Since then, he has been at the forefront of design and technological innovation, creating imaginative and unparalleled public experiences that bring audiences together to explore, learn, communicate, and collaborate. Under Schlossberg's leadership, ESI Design has created groundbreaking retail and corporate spaces, sales and innovation centers, museums, digital media installations, and multiplayer game environments for an array of corporations, brands, and cultural institutions. While Ed is renowned for his design work, it is worth noting that he holds a PhD from Columbia, where he studied linguistics, physics, and literature. In addition to being a designer, he's also a poet and an artist. His artwork has appeared in shows internationally and can be found in private collections and museums, including the Guggenheim, Met, and MoMA. In his artworks, Schlossberg portrays words as art, turning poems into visual objects to make them more accessible for the viewer. His work has pushed the boundaries of mediums such as vinyl, plexiglass, aluminum, copper, lithography, and even books. Tonight, Ed will reflect on his early contributions to art and design, beginning with Words, Words, Words from 1967-68, his first major project at Universal Limited Art Editions. He'll share insight from his meetings with visionaries like Tatyana Grosman, Buckminster Fuller, Robert Rauschenberg, and Jasper Johns, along with some unexpected surprises for attendees. Now, before I pass the microphone over to Ed, I'd like to remind everyone that we have a reception following the lecture in our 69th Street Gallery, and I hope you all can join us. So, Ed, the podium is yours.
Great. Thank you. Hi. It's a pleasure to speak here. I've walked by this building and been inside of it at some lectures and stuff, and it's really always interesting to reflect on the way that you move through the world. And a lot of conversations that I have to deal with is that a lot of young people and a lot of old people think that whatever stage they are at, they have to continue on being on it for a long time. And my life is completely different. I started out going to an experimental camp in Massachusetts called Robinson Crusoe, and where we lived in the woods and at the age of 8. And I worked with a group of other little boys to cook our food and clean up the tents and make an area. So I've been sort of always surrounded by the idea of collaborative creation and the idea of how much you learn when you listen to ideas through people, and where people can learn from each other by hearing things, hearing ideas and points of view from a lot of different perspectives. So when I went to college in Columbia and got my doctorate in, physics and English and American literature, and I wrote, part of my dissertation was a imaginary conversation between Albert Einstein and Samuel Beckett. And it was so interesting to see how the people in Columbia were sort of shocked at, but very amused by, the idea that you would be working in two disciplines at the same time. And I thought it was sort of a common thing that everyone actually does. You can't really stay in the guide rails of a train. You have to run your life in a million different ways. And so, and graduating from school, I thought, well, I'll try to sell my book because that would be interesting. And I think I'm gonna, whoops, I'm going to the wrong place. There, I'm going here. So no, gotta go back. There's his books, there. So I've been, in my years after graduate school, I wrote a lot of books, and these are some of them. But they all came out from a kind of invitation to make things and think about things. And I was really lucky that the computer world hadn't really reached the world, but people had calculators. And so my first book that really was a hit was the Pocket Calculator game book, which sold 1 million copies. And so then my publisher wanted to do another one, and he wanted to do a kid's book, and then we wanted to do a book about CB radio, and we wanted to do a book about computers. And so by doing all these books, I learned a lot, and also I made enough money to actually start a design office. Because what I really wanted to do was to collaborate the sort of idea where people learn things sequentially to the experience that we learn collaboratively, and to make people realize that most of the things that they learn the best are through other people's conversations with them. And so that the media of conversation is sort of been the balancing piece about all the work that I have done. And I kept doing that, and I moved and from that shouldn't have gone there. No. How we're going to have a navigation problem? No. Sorry. How am I going to go to there? No. We're going to have a little problem because I don't think the tools work on this screen because I can't get to the next slide. Anyways, I didn't build this computer, so I'll talk a little bit more about this. This book is about Tatyana Grosman. She was the starter, really rehabilitated graphic arts in New York, and she was a place that I read into Jasper Johns and Rauschenberg and John Cage and Merce Cunningham, and they were sort of my friends as I graduated from college, and that was an astonishing thing to happen. Let me see if I can get out of this. I'm sorry. Maybe a navigator. Maybe let's go back up. Fortunately, I know how to work these things. Okay, so now I'm going to go here. So in that environment, I did a series of paintings and drawings on aluminum, where you could see yourself in the painting, and then things where the paper was folded, which unfolded in front of you, and then these, which were really successful, was writing a little bit of each word on one sheet of plexiglass so you could see it, and then being able to try to see if you could put it together. And if you look at it at different ways, it reads differently. And here, this is an exhibit I had at Ronald Feldman Gallery, where I then had 15 more exhibits. But this was another book painting that or art piece that I made, which is, I read the Oxford English Dictionary, and when I read it, I all of a sudden realized that there were many meanings to the same word, and I realized that some words had 15 and some words had 50 meanings to them. So I thought that it would be good to make paintings of each of the letters that had, and which were the words that had more than 20 meanings to them. And then I made two, here this is C and D, and then I did it for the rest of the alphabet. So my thoughts about designing was to try to create curiosity and make something that was beautiful, hopefully. People thought it would be beautiful. These are paintings made on brass, and they're cut out, and then they're hung away from the wall, so the shadow of the painting is what you really see. And I thought that would be really interesting. This painting is very large, and it's painted with liquid crystal. Liquid crystal changes color depending on the temperature of the room. So every painting that I made changes color depending on the room's temperature. And so there are all like 6 or 7 different temperature kinds of color in the room, so that if you have it in your house every day, it'll never have the same color to it. And this is, again, on aluminum. And these are designed on highway screens, the material that's used on highway signs. And so I'm sure you've seen it, that it really, the back of it is, I'm sorry, this is on that. So it actually, when you're really in the room with it, it looks as if all those drawings and texts are floating. And then I made a series of paintings about all the letters in the alphabet, and all their meaning, and made 26 paintings about the different letters of the alphabet, and then again more paintings on the, and this is the last show that I had in Tokyo. But I just, every time I show paintings from a different period, one or two of the different period of work, to see the sort of evolution of making a painting. So let's see if this works. Perfect. Uh-oh. Perfect. No. There. Yes, this. So I worked on a project at the White House there was going to be a conference about children and youth and how to entertain them. And by some chance, a friend of mine and I from Columbia went down there and worked to design what the conference would be. And I suggested that instead of having people have the speakers speak one after another, that we had 8 speakers. We had 8 big round tables in the room, and all the people could switch tables and listen to the conversations that were in the room, rather than just listening to them by themselves, so that the conversation in the room and at the table would make it a much more interesting thing. And just as a chance, the director of the Brooklyn Children's Museum was sitting next to me. And I didn't know he was going to be here. And we had a conversation during the day of that thing, and he hired me on the spot to design the Brooklyn Children's Museum. And I say to all the people in the room, that's the best thing about life, which is you never know where anything's going to happen and who's going to help you and how things are going to work. Anyways, I got the job to design the Brooklyn Children's Museum. And it's interesting that the Children's Museum was in the Macy's home in Brooklyn, for about 30 years before it got torn down because the Macy didn't follow fire rules or anything. So the thing that I learned about and reading about and going to other places that did children's things was that there are things that children do all the time that often are not noticed, like the fact that girls, when they get together, always form a circle, and boys, when they get together, always make a line. And so I designed all the experiences to comfort that, so that there were experiences where the girls could see each other and talk about each other, where the boys could be just far enough away so they couldn't hit each other, but they would talk. And it was designed around earth, air, fire, and water, a very Grecian idea. And the minute you walked in, there was a stream running down the center of it. And all the lighting in it was about the different colors and the vibrancy of the point of view on the scale. So blue was one area, then red, and the kids could immediately, as they walked in, put their hands in the water and see there are places where they could go and play with water in a pool and with a windmill. And then I had two circulation things. One, this 10,000 times square model of a carbon atom. I thought that would be interesting to have them be able to climb in, because a lot of kids just like to go and look at things and see all the things, and a lot of kids move around. So this model made the Children's Museum very exciting. And the museum was successful. Maybe many of you have heard about it, but I was so moved by when it was, they decided it was too small because it was so successful, that they hired an architect, and all the people in Brooklyn said, you can't tear down the exhibit part. You can tear down the walls and build another one. That's what happened. So this exhibit that I made there is still in the middle of it after 30 years. This is a weird exhibit, which was the Massachusetts Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals wanted me to make a museum to explain farm animals to children and their parents. And so I decided to try to make things that would have them learn about the items, not by seeing a picture of it, but by feeling it. So there were a lot of streams on the property. So all these little bridges were built, and it says, "Can you walk like a chicken?" And then when you do it, you hear the clop of the chicken's feet as you walk by it, and then you can see if you can work. I'm working like a horse, and you have to get your friends to pull it to see it. But this design was the one that was the sort of home run, because I figured out if you could actually see like a sheep saw, and then you could see like a horse saw, and then you could see like a cow saw, you'd really learn an enormous amount about each of the animals. So we invented this thing, and you just put it up to your eyes, and immediately you're seeing exactly like a cow or a horse sees the world. And so, horses' eyes go like this, so that's why they have to bend their head down. So by being able to do that, they immediately learn it without saying anything. And so that was the kind of interactive experience I wanted to build, and it was such a pleasure to build that. And then I made a scent maze, which was very popular, because you had to follow the scents in the air to get in and out of the one area. And the next project I did, they're all children's museums, and I think was very helpful. I was very happy about that. But let me back up again. So this is at the Henry Ford Museum, is a fantastic exhibit museum, and has so many of it has all the screws and all the hammers and screwdrivers and everything, every one of them that has ever been made in the world. it has had and had engines, and it has and it's a 8-acre building. But there's nothing to do there. There's only things to see there. And in fact, the most popular thing in the museum is Edison captured. I mean, Edison captured. No. Anyways, it's Edison's last breath is the exhibit, and it's in a little jar. And everybody in the museum goes there. Who goes there? And this is like 25,000 people a day, but they go right to see Edison's breath, which is amazing because there's nothing in it except a dream, which is so interesting about what really draws people to go to see things. So we made this thing called the Innovation Station, and what it is it's a ball sorting machine. So it sorts the balls around, and the kids, by jumping into different areas and moving them around, see how difficult and how interesting it is to try to sort balls in a large place. And this one was also, I guess I shouldn't say that anymore, very successful. So the next project was a commercial project for Comcast. Comcast had this lobby built, and it was all wood. And the head of Comcast asked me to make the lobby exciting, so I decided that I would put an LED all around in the front there to make it interesting. But much more interesting than that was, whoops, is it going to play? Oh, bad. Anyways, sorry. I think I'm going to have a problem with this going on. Anyways. No, I'm going backwards now. So the next project I did was the new museum at the Ellis Island and that Statue of Liberty, which our firm designed both of them. And we created the museum. But we created the museum as an experiential thing to do a lot of things. But the key ingredient to it was I found out that the ship's manifest were still lying in a big in big shelves in a warehouse and hadn't been looked at in 20 years. And these were like this was all the people who came into America through the only entrance into America since 1898, and so it was it was such a beautiful thing. And the people were smart enough to have 9 areas of interest, that like where you came from, when you came from it, what you're carrying with you, all that interest, and that would have disappeared because the books were in tatters. And then so I said, we're going to build this thing, and then this is in 2021, and the price to build to have IBM and which was the only firm who could have built it at the time, to do it was $8 million, and the statue. They said, I'm sorry, we can't do this. And so I thought, okay, maybe, the Mormons copy things down all the time. Maybe all the Mormons would copy down this and digitize our lobby. So I went out to and visited the Mormon church, and they actually agreed to do it for free. So that saved the immigration history of the United States, because those papers were disappearing, and so anyway, so this is what you're seeing, where people can visit and see the signature of their family, and in fact, how many people online took the names of the people in front of them because they couldn't speak English or knew about it. So there were many people named Smith who came through and then these are the other exhibits in the museum talking about different places, and with a whole story about how people arrived and then went out from basically from New York all around the world. I'm going to a little faster here. This is a project we did in Boston, and instead of having the graphics and the thing outside I started it inside, only inside. I started it outside. So it's a fish tank, but it also becomes a background, and all the images of people on the screen are ones of people moving through the, and I think this one will now not play. Okay, so we'll go to Wells Fargo.
It's playing.
Huh?
It's starting.
It's starting?
Yeah.
Do you hear it?
Watch the big screen.
Who was playing?
Yes.
Uh-oh. This is sad. Hmm?
It was starting to play. I think you're one screen ahead, I think, on the presenter view. So
Come back?
yeah, because I think it was starting to play on the
Okay.
on the first slide. So go back one more, because we're still there on that. There we go. Oh, it started. Oh, that was eBay. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
So we know we have audio though, because that just went.
So let's take a look at the day in the life of a young consumer named Reese.
But I have to move forward,
Yeah.
and it's not taking the sound. Okay. So the thing that was very interesting is I went to eBay, and they said that their problem was that the people who worked for eBay didn't know how eBay worked, so that they wanted something in the factory and in the lobby to show it. So we created this interactive thing, which I'm so sorry you can't see it. If this is really disaster. Why is it doing this? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think it was going. You're talking about the gentleman. I mean, where the gentleman talks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started to play like a little bit ago. Go back to eBay.
Let's see what this says.
Main Street has infused so much more energy, so much more pride amongst our employee base, both here in Silicon Valley and to our employees around the world. And I don't think I would have said before that a building could do that, which is pretty incredible.
We are reinventing our brand, we're reinventing our culture, and it's so important to have a physical manifestation of that. It's how we show up to our community. It's a gathering place for our employees that is inspirational, engaging, and fun and interactive.
Technology is the lifeblood of eBay. It's what it's built on. Everyone here is working within that digital stream, and we wanted an architecture that reflected that. As you enter the building, you get digital stories and experiences in incremental steps of scale. Columns, and then the larger touchscreen, and then finally, inside the biggest space of all, this enormous, custom, iconic display. The building as a whole is going to feel like a coherent, coordinated experience.
You've taken our data and you've turned it into stories about people, about the products on our site, about just the vastness that is eBay, right? As a global community.
Yeah, that's enough of that. Let's see if this next one works. Oh, I don't want to do that one. Is that back here? It should be at this right here.
Starting right the beginning.
Well, maybe I'll start it here.
If you go back one and launch into that, I think it would be good. There we go. Now it's starting over there.
That's too back. Well, you can get to see this one now. But the thing is that people can see themselves in their silhouette, and then also it goes with the weather, and it's people really like it. Now, where am I going to find this one? Do you have an idea?
I don't, but I figure we would go forward. I have it on my other computer. I can pull it up. You're looking for the,
It's this. It should be right here.
yeah. There
But
we
it-
go.
Okay. So we built the highest LED in the world because this lobby was terrible, and it did nothing. You know, it was just like, and you could see all this from outside and all around the building. And all these also are set up so that they never repeat. Okay, I'm going to move on. See what this one was to be. I'm sorry. I'm making a mistake there. Well, this is Terrell Place. So this building in Washington, D.C. is actually 3 buildings that were sort of glued together. And we made a lobby that felt that you were always in the same place. And we put little devices in the ceiling so that when people kept near the places, all the LEDs respond to their presence. Let's see if this is going to work.
There we go. Nope.
Good?
It's just back, forward. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really wanted you to see this. This is one of the ones I like a lot. So this goes all the way through the building, and anyone who moves in and out of the building lobby, something happens on the screen. And we have like 20 different versions of everything so that it's never repeating things. So even in the small hallways. The Meta organization is in this building, and they claim that they designed it. We did the Sony building, the Sony store, and the Sony Tech Lab. So the kids got everybody who came in here got a card, and then they went through the history of technology, and then actually could then work a camera setup and on a variety of other activities, all and everything that they did and how well they did, and they got a certificate from on the end of it. So this whole thing is like helping people to understand what's going on. Now the next one is not that one. This is the Statue of Liberty, which we designed the interior of. And we designed it so that it had a artifact quality, but also a participatory quality. And so I'll show you the one part of it. Hopefully it'll work. Yes, yay, yay.
Museum is a modern expression of how this concept of liberty can be understood and engaged with. And that's the meaning of the new museum, is to help as many people as possible to engage with all of the many things that the statue has come to mean. Most of all, liberty, the yearning to be free.
ESI Design created an experience at the Statue of Liberty Museum that reimagines existing artifacts and exhibits and pairs them with interactive and immersive media that invites visitors into the ongoing story of liberty. We wanted to make liberty's history explicit in the museum. Why was she created? How was she conceived of? How was she literally made? The sketching and ideating of her needed to be represented. And then we wanted to explore why a statue like this became so important. Why have people worldwide become invested in maintaining the idea of liberty through this statue? We wanted to create a place where people could actively participate and define what liberty means to them, to take part in the idea of what liberty represents. From the statue's rich history to perspectives from current visitors, the new museum covers a lot of ground, and it has to showcase such a meaningful icon.
I think because we work as a team and because we work from the audience in rather than from the technology or the content out, we design experiences that are very accessible for the audiences that come. And I think that doing it that way is the reason why I think we're successful.
Okay, I don't want to do that one. Okay. No, I want to do this one. This is the Edward M. Kennedy Institute of the United States Senate to study it, and we recreated. I'm going to quickly go through this so the film can tell the story better. Whoops. I think I'm going over time. Let me know if I should stop.
Back up.
So frustrating. Is it going to happen? Yeah, there it is.
It's hard for our children to see the possibilities of our democracy, our capacity together to do big things. This place can help change that. It can help light the fire of imagination, plant the seed of noble ambition in the minds of future generations. And who but Ted Kennedy and his family would create a full-scale replica of the Senate chamber and open it to everyone?
At ESI, when we think about an exhibit, we think about it as programming, not something that you have to passively experience, but something that you need to engage with, that needs to be facilitated by technology, by you, by another human being. The Senate means you have to have a conversation.
For the general public, they're going to be senators in training. They go out and through the exhibits gather information about the Senate. For students, it's really working together to pass legislation in a mock Senate.
In just a moment, you will become senators for the day.
We decided to build the whole institute as this decision-making platform where students and researchers can keep creating new Senate immersion modules.
We're using the best of technology while encouraging face-to-face interaction. It's an entirely new model of civic engagement.
What better testament to the life of Ted Kennedy than this place that he left for a new generation of Americans? A monument not to himself, but to what we, the people, have the power to do together.
Should I stop? There are like two more exhibits. More? Keep going? Okay. This is we designed the pavilion for the city of Shanghai for the 2010 exhibit. And instead of using photographers, we had the children of the city make all the photographs for the exhibits. And this was how the exhibit worked. You went up a stair, and then you were upstairs, and you were in Shanghai in the 19th century, and then in the 20th, and then the 21st century. So this is what it looks like underneath, and then you go up, and you walk through this whole area, and there are several levels of media going on, but the whole experience is the dialogue is done between a granddaughter and his grandfather, her grandfather, and everything responds to you being there. Nothing works unless you're next to it. And then this is the big experience in the middle where everyone claps their hands and waves their arms, and then they find out that what they did is what is the lighting on the outside of the building. So this is, I'll go quick with you. This is the Delta terminal. But I'm okay. This is at Loma Linda Hospital in Loma Linda, California. And what we did here is to design an experience where the children who come to the hospital can get a friend, a digital friend as they come in, and then go through the hospital with the digital friend so that they have a thought and a relationship with the hospital in sort of that way. I don't know if this is going to crank up. Oh, we're back in. There we go. So,
here he comes.
Whoop, here.
Here he comes. Here he comes.
Where are we working to? It was playing. It was? Yeah. Okay. Well, there's the exhibit, and right here, the kids are checking in.
If you go back one, because you're out of it there. See that you're ahead of yourself in the presenter.
Okay.
It's not
It's like that?
It's not on screen over there anymore. Play button right there.
Oh.
Play all the way, yeah. And then it's gonna play it. Yeah, Loma Land, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start that.
Isn't it going to work?
Well, every time we touch it, it stops. So, oh, here we go. Well, that's the next slide. That's the terminal.
Okay.
Loma Land, there we go. Now it is up there. Maybe you know the video's coming.
Yeah.
Here he comes.
Oh, yeah, this is good. Okay.
I got it.
Do you like going to the doctor?
I don't like getting a shot. No, not really. Yeah, but sometimes I'm a little scared, but sometimes I don't be scared, but a little bit of both.
Can I show you something that you might like?
Yeah. Yep. That would be really fun if you show me something.
Was that fun?
Yeah.
But you had a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, I really did.
What was your favorite part?
Making the animals and saying hi to them. Doing the touch screens to make bears. But my favorite one was the raccoon. A silver bear that has an acorn hat. My favorite part was making all animals. It went onto a screen, and then it went onto a bigger screen, and we called it the Animal Squad. And I'm excited.
Okay.
So can we open it up to questions a little bit?
Sure.
All right. Anybody have any? Yeah, it's a kind of overwhelming moment. I'm a little emotional. Question, you have one?
Well, first of all, I'll be faking if I said I had a question because I just came in, so I really missed the experience. But one thing I'm kind of good about reading the room, and the energy was like real love. And my name, significant, is Sheer Jasper, and that was Isaiah's son. And it's funny that God sent a child to humble a king, and you sent a child to humble us. And I hope that resonates when we leave out. So God bless you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'm curious what's next in the field of experience design.
Well, there's so many things that we are working on. That's one of the people who work, one of the great designers at ESI. Mr. Grimm, do you want to get up and say something? Oh, well, you can tell me what you think the answer is to that question.
Oh, geez. Well, we're in an interesting time, aren't we? That's sort of post-COVID. People are getting back out in the world, but there's still apprehension, politics as dividing people. is there a way that our profession can help bring people back together in person
Yes,
to
absolutely.
collaborate, etc.?
Absolutely.
I do work at ESI Design. I'm not a plant. I'm here, but we're going through these throes of how do we get back to working in the same room, and as Ed started this conversation about collaboration and cooperation, and it's very difficult to do over Zoom.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's a real challenge to get people back into the same room, except for tonight, which is amazing to see everybody here. So,
yes. Thank you, Grim.
I think we have a question over here.
Hi, that was, hi. Oh.
Hi.
Oh, no, I don't want to stand. That was amazing. That was really beautiful. But can you talk a little more about when you said that in the interactivity in, well, so many of your projects, like in DC, you said nothing happens unless the person, that the videos change as a person walks by. So which comes first?
Well,
I mean, can you talk more about like the videos responding to the
so
you're so fascinating.
I won't talk about all the technology, but the thing is, I realized that going into a lobby which looks the same every day is really numbing. And so then you're not looking at anything. So then if you see, as you're walking down, the room changing in front of you because of how you work, then you start thinking, well, maybe I'll try that path, and then we'll go over other paths. And then, you know, the people in Washington, where that is, it's actually now the Meta headquarters in Washington. They just like, they plan how they're going to walk and how things work. Am I answering your question? Yeah. The idea is to try to, we learn most of the things we know through people. And so you want to have an experience which gives you an opportunity to talk to someone else, to talk about it, and then saying, well, you know, what was that stupid thing downstairs? Let me see if it works this way, or whatever. We wanted to make something that we have probably 100 more projects that we could have put, maybe 75 more projects that we could have put on that. But they're all made so that they don't repeat, and they're all made so that we can continuously add to it, so it's not a boring thing.
And they create an interactivity. You're saying when the person gets creating interactivity at the same time.
Yes, well, the idea is like if you're walking against a wall, what the hell do you care? You know, I mean, it's like, but if there's something going on there, it raises a question, and some of the things we've done have all the maps of the city that they're in, and it's sort of like what you do on your hand when you're moving around, but they have other things that it can do.
You mentioned in the beginning of the talk about the group activity, and I'm sure in your firm there's a lot of group work to come to consensus, but you also describe yourself as an artist. Do you work in a studio alone? What is your work like?
Sometimes I work with everybody in the office. Sometimes I have a studio in I have a studio in Massachusetts that I work in. That's where I do the paintings and drawings and things.
What are they like?
Well, maybe you missed them. There's some of them there. I thought that it was the thing that I'm most interested in. I mean, I love the artwork that I've done, and I'm happy about that. But the collaborative work in the world is what thrills me to work on. So those are the things that I'm most engaged with.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is sort of. Do you find that once especially the ones that never repeat themselves, but even the ones that do repeat themselves, do you find that people who work there sort of get used to it, so it's almost like walking through a blank wall after a while, they ignore them?
Yes, but the thing that we did is that we've in many of the projects, we've made it so that the computer will put another set of different determinants in every month or something like that, so that that also changes. What you see changes, or we add a new thing to what's going on.
And do you have like questionnaires where they compare the employees' productivity
No,
living in that kind of environment?
Never did that, no.
Very interesting. How do you do something that never repeats itself?
It's pretty easy, actually.
How?
Because you're working at a digital level, so all the things that are in there. So if the blues become gray and the yellows become pink, and then everything looks different. I mean,
But everything isn't limitless, in other words.
Oh, it's not. No, I shouldn't say never.
Oh.
You know, I just should say we're doing it as much as we can within the budget that the client paid for.
That's, I was wondering,
And also,
philosophically, how do you do something
but we also come in and redo the work in places. So there are projects we've built and then taken out and put in other ones. But the good thing about the digital piece is that, that where you stand in the room looks different when you go there one time than the next. It just makes it refreshing. It's like when the sun's shining in one place and in another. So what we're trying to do is the most thing that's has a dynamic feel to it rather than a static feel to it. Yeah.
I wish you had worked, your works were in some of the buildings I worked in on Wall Street when I was younger, but I'm just wondering at 270 Park Avenue with JP Morgan Chase's new space, perhaps you're working on that as well, because that's a big space, and you just put smiles on people's faces, and you make things, technology, people say, draws people into themselves, they don't talk, but what you've
That's not
done
true.
is, you've just created this world, which, I hope you continue.
Thank you.
Live
Well,
well and continue.
those brilliant designers over there are leading the way.
Well, one final question.
I'm curious about your engagement and view on AI. If it really is reducing the sort of human ethos in this work, or, just curious on your thoughts.
It's going to be tremendously influential for everyone's life for the next 30 years.
And you think for the better or worse?
Both, probably, as all things are that. It's never just one thing. Yeah, but it's the idea of the capability of beauty and also responsiveness and also understanding one another more. I think is the AI will help in that. I mean, we all have to help on it, but I think that will give more people more access to more challenges in their lives. And that's always good. Yeah.
Do you feel that takes work away from the actual designers that are, the actual designers who are actually performing the work hands-on? AI is going to be able to do it by itself. They're not going to need bodies in the office anymore. It's pretty scary.
Well, well, everything's pretty scary. No, I mean, I think that the ability to the ability to change the level at which content is available and all those kinds of things could be. I mean, as we start working in that field, we'll be able to demand things that will be so beautiful and so different, and maybe being able to bring the sunset in Fiji all the way to New York and vice versa. It's things like that where you can really feel you're part of the world, or just you have to have creative people and people also who are fair.
Thanks so much, Ed. It was truly a pleasure and a joy to see your work and hear you talk about it.